Hello everyone, I am the storyteller, and tonight I am here just to help you relax, to drift off to sleep by the sound of the waves, like the whispers of old souls. I know you have come to this video not just to hear the story, but also to find a deep, peaceful sleep. But before we begin, please gently like the video and subscribe to the channel so I can continue to tell you strange stories under the dim moonlight. Where are you from? And what time is it where you live? Just relax. Let your body relax. Put all your worries down by your pillow. Let me take you into a world of mysteries where the wind and the waves mingle, and unsolved mysteries are waiting to be told. Are you ready? Don't tell anyone. It keeps following me all the time. I've been feeling it for days now. This eerie sensation of being watched. This morning, an envelope slipped under my door. No name, no return address, just a single line written in red ink. Come to the garden on Elm at midnight. Don't be late. My first thought was that it was a prank, maybe a mistake. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I felt that same strange, heavy sensation in my chest, the feeling of being watched. Whoever's been following me wants me to come to this meeting. I should ignore it. It's driving me mad, circling in my head over and over. It doesn't make sense. Why would anyone ask me to meet them in a garden I've never visited? I don't leave this room. I can't leave this room. The thought of stepping outside makes my chest tighten like the poisonous air. The walls aren't walls anymore. They're closing in, pressing closer each day, shrinking until no room is left. I can feel a slow constriction, like the tightening grip of a snake coiling around my chest. It was there again. I felt its rancid and sour breath hovering just behind my neck, the cold seeping into my bones. The buzzing, crawling under my skin, burrowing deep, an itch I can't reach, is maddening. I dug my nails into my arms again and tore at the skin until the blood flowed warm and sticky. It hurt, but I didn't stop. The red smeared against the white of the sheets like some twisted artwork. I laughed. I laughed because the pain reminded me I was still here, that I wasn't gone yet, not entirely. But the blood, the warmth, it didn't last. It never does. The cold always comes back, dragging me under. I've spent the whole day staring at the envelope, trying to make sense of everything. What does he mean, don't be late? I opened the envelope earlier, but it only made things worse. Inside was a single photograph, a picture of me, taken through the window of my room. The timestamp showed it was taken 2 nights ago, right around when I started feeling like I was being watched. But my room doesn't have a window. It is still me in that photograph. But how? October 12th. I didn't go. I don't know why. I sat here, staring at the clock, watching the minutes crawl by until midnight came and went. I couldn't move. My legs felt heavy like they were stuck to the floor. The envelope is still here where I left it, taunting me. I can't shake the feeling that I wrote it. It's ridiculous. Why would I send something to myself? I checked my desk drawer where I kept my pens and paper, but they were all where I left them. Still, that handwriting is mine. I know it is. I can't deal with that right now. I didn't sleep last night. Or maybe I did. I can't tell anymore. The line between waking and dreaming has blurred into a haze like thick and endless fog rolling in from the sea. I lie there, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks. They're growing, splintering outwards like delicate spider webs. I wonder if they'll reach me, if they'll come down in shards of plaster and dust, burying me alive. I wouldn't mind. When I close my eyes, I see it clearer now. The dark mass, the shape it takes. God, it's horrific. It's all wrong. Its body is twisted, its limbs are too long, joints are bent at impossible angles, and the skin is slick and black like oil, dripping. And its face, or what should be a face, it shifts, twisting like clay, eyes forming then disappearing, mouths opening and closing, filled with rows of jagged teeth. It stood at the foot of my bed last night. I felt it staring, even though there were no eyes. The weight of its gaze crushed me into the mattress. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. My heart pounded so loud I was sure it would burst out of my chest. I could feel it feeding off that fear, growing stronger, reveling in my helplessness. October 13th. I didn't take the pills today. They're trying to poison me. I see it in their eyes when they hand them to me. Their fake smiles stretched too thin. The red-haired one, she's the worst. She is always cheerful. She thinks I'm too far gone to notice. But I do. I notice everything. She came by earlier. I didn't like the way she looked at me, like I'm an animal. I smiled back at her and watched her flinch. She thinks I'm docile, but she doesn't know. She doesn't know what's been following me, what's been whispering in my ear. The envelope's still here, on the nightstand, staring at me. Why can't I stop thinking about it? Why can't I just let it go? The garden on Elm. It's not real. I know that. I know I never wrote it. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, I wonder, what if it's me? What if I've been sending these things to myself all along? Number. That's impossible. I wouldn't do that. I scratched at the walls today, tried to tear them down, and tried to escape. I could feel it closing in, but the walls wouldn't give. My fingers bled, my nails broken, but the walls held firm, cold, and unforgiving. I could hear it whispering through the cracks. I can't understand the words, but know they're meant for me. October 14th. The feeling was more vital and intense today. It's getting closer and more aggressive. Every step I took, every corner I turned, was right there. The light stretches it out, twisting it longer and pulling it closer until I feel drowning. I've feared so many things, but nothing like this. It started when I was a kid. My stepfather had this way of punishing me when I did something wrong. He'd shove me into the closet in the basement and lock the door. I can still hear the click of the lock, that final sound before the darkness swallowed me whole. And I remember the worst day. The day it came. It was one of the longest times he'd left me there overnight. I don't remember what I did to deserve it. The punishment lasted longer than usual. I screamed at first, banging on the door, but no one came. They never did. The darkness wrapped itself around me, smothering my cries. It was like a blanket of silence, pressing in closer and closer until the only sound I could hear was my own heartbeat, frantic in my chest. The hunger came first, gnawing at my insides like a rat chewing through bone. Then, the thirst. My lips cracked, and every breath was dry and sharp. The need to go to the bathroom hit next, but I held it for hours, clutching my stomach, praying he'd let me out. But he didn't. Eventually, I couldn't hold it anymore. The urine soaked into my clothes, warm and humiliating at first, then cold and stinking as it mixed with the damp, musty air of the closet. The smell filled the tiny space, suffocating me and burning my nose. I cried, not from pain, but from the shame, the filth. And then, hours later, or maybe minutes, I don't know, that happened too. I had had nowhere to go. I couldn't hold it. The shit pressed out of me, warm and sticky, and I felt it spread beneath me as I sat on the wooden floor. The smell was unbearable. My skin crawled with it, with the filth of my own body betraying me, trapped in that black hole of a closet. And that's when I felt it. I can still remember the exact moment. The darkness had changed. It wasn't just empty anymore. It was watching me. It was alive. The air had shifted and thickened, like something had slipped into the closet with me. I froze, my body trembling, my throat dry and raw from screaming. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat like a drum, slow and sickening. I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there. I could feel it hovering just out of reach. A presence. It wasn't like the darkness that had always terrified me. It was something far worse. Something that was feeding on my fear, on the filth, on the weakness I had become. That's when I first sensed it. Whatever it was, it had slipped into my world and has never left me. October 15th. The nurses, they're scared of me now. I see it in their eyes, how they flinch when I move too quickly, and how they talk in hushed whispers just outside my door. They think I don't notice, but I do. The way they look at me, like I'm a rabid dog, something to be caged and kept away. Good. The reddish nurse came again today. Her smile is unnatural, stretched so tight it looks like it might split her face open. She handed me the pills, blue ones this time. I took them from her and felt their weight in my hand, but I didn't swallow them. I smiled back at her. Pulling the corners of my mouth up like that felt strange. My face was stiff, unused to the motion. I wonder if she noticed. I let the pills slip from my hand and watched them fall to the floor, bouncing once or twice before disappearing into the shadows. The shadows have been moving more lately, creeping across the floor like they're alive and hungry. I like to watch her bend to pick it up. Every time, her skirt hikes up just enough for me to see the curve of her thighs, the pale skin peeking out from beneath the hem. She does it deliberately. I know she does. She thinks I'm a vegetable, a shattered man with a broken mind, locked away inside my own head. She thinks I don't notice. But she's wrong. She doesn't know I'm not alone. I've never been alone. So, she was honestly surprised when I knocked her to the floor. It wasn't hard. She's small, fragile. Her eyes widened, lips parting in shock as I grabbed her and shoved her down. Her breath hitched, a sharp air intake, and I could feel the excitement, the pulse of something dark and wild rushing through me. It wasn't me. I wasn't in control. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. I didn't want to hurt her. It wasn't me. It was the thing that's been with me all along. The thing that's been watching now, waiting and feeding. It pushed me, whispered in my prank ear, and told me what to do. I didn't have a choice. She cried out, but the buzzing in my head and the ticking clock muffled her voice. I could barely hear her. I could scarcely feel her anymore. Everything was slipping away, fading into the hum, into the dark. It's inside me now. I can feel it crawling under my skin, controlling my wants and thoughts. It's too late. I can't stop it anymore. I'm laughing again. I can't help it. The sound bubbles up from deep inside me, harsh and cracked. It echoes off the walls, filling the room. The nurse looks up at me with wide, terrified eyes, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She doesn't understand. She will. They all will. October 16th. I woke up choking on my own breath. It was standing over me, I swear. a dark mass, shifting, warping, like it was trying to decide what shape to take. My body was frozen. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. All I could do was watch as it hovered, staring, the cold of it seeping into my skin like ice. It didn't touch me. Not yet. But I couldn't feel it anymore. So close. I've heard about sleep paralysis. The doctors like to throw that term around like it explains everything. But this was different. It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a dream. It was real. It was there, watching me with eyes that didn't exist. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The laugh just bubbled up out of me, desperate, choking. I laughed because what else could I do? What else do you do when the thing following you for years finally finds its way into your room? They put me in isolation after that. She said I was disturbing the others. I was screaming, they said, but I wasn't. It was the laugh. It's funny, really. It's funny how no one else sees it. The lights flickered today. I counted the seconds between the flickers. 3, then 5, then 8, then 1. Erratic. Like something was playing with the switch. It's toying with me now. That's fine. Let it play its game. I scratched at my arm until the skin broke. The nurses tried to stop me, but I didn't care. I needed to feel something. The pain is real. The blood is real. Thick, warm, dripping down my fingers. I let it pool in my palm for a moment, staring at warmth. It and watching it glisten in the pale light. It's funny how thirsty you get. I tasted it, just a little. Just enough to remember what it feels like to be alive. It tastes like metal, sharp and bitter, but it's mine. They found me after that and tried to patch me up, but they couldn't stop me from bleeding. They can't stop what's already inside me. The buzzing is louder now. It's deafening. October 17th. The walls. They're wrong today. I don't know how to explain it, but they feel different. The texture is off, as if the paint is peeling away to reveal something underneath. I scraped at the surface until my fingers bled again, nails tearing against the plaster. I had to know. I had to see what was underneath. It was hollow. Behind the walls was nothing, just darkness, an endless void stretching out forever. I could feel the pull of it, dragging me in and whispering promises of relief and escape. But it's a lie. I know what's really waiting in that darkness. It's there, waiting for me to slip. I won't. Not yet. October 19th. Everything is sharper today. The edges are too bright, too hard. The air smells of chemicals, bleach, ammonia, and something sweet and sickly. I gagged when I woke up, the stench clinging to my skin and the sheets. The buzzing in the light is louder than ever, a constant hum that vibrates through my teeth, rattling my bones. I saw it again this morning, not just a flicker. No, this time, it was there, fully formed, standing in the corner, watching, waiting. Its face, oh God, its face, was mine, twisted and distorted, like looking into a broken mirror, the features all wrong, stretched, eyes too big, mouth too wide, filled with jagged teeth. I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw, and my voice gave out, but no one came. No one heard me. They never do. Do you hear that? No, you don't. You're sitting there, comfortable, safe, reading this like it's just the ramblings of a madman. But you're wrong. It's not me that's crazy. It's you. You don't see it yet, but you will. You'll feel it soon enough. It's always there, waiting, watching, lurking in the corners, just beyond the light. I'm sorry for you. I really am. You'll understand soon enough. You'll realize it's been watching you too. It'll slip into your room and mind, just like it did with me. And when it does, when you finally see your shadow, don't be stupid. Don't be like me. They won't believe you, and it'll only make it stronger. Be clever, be silent. October surprise. Oi choi, show me your tongue. That's what you got to say to a suspected serp. They can't hide their forked tongues, even if they've gotten better at copying just about everything else. Ask anyone, and they'll tell you. I mean, it was all over the feeds, this little old man. He could have been anybody's grandpa, except he was living under a stolen ID and preying on small critters near a school zone. But luckily, some Final Front guys caught him, and when they backed him into a corner, out came that freaky serp tongue. And that's just one example. Who knows how many more are living among us? But we're not going to sit idly by and let it happen. Sometimes all it takes is a few good men to make a difference. That's why I answered the private invite on my holo. Want to do something about the serps? That flashed once, then gave the when and where before the letters scrambled and dissolved. It was fast, like 3 seconds, probably to test our memories and observational skills. We're meeting at the shuttered Lindbergh Library in a part of Southside Apex that hugs the wall along the stretch. And I get there way before sundown to show them I know how to do recon. I'm wearing my urban camo and blending in with a piece of plasteel that hasn't been added to the wall yet. I count 4 guys go into the alley behind the library. Not a one sees me, but I'm not following until it's time, because I'm precise that way. Oi choi. Some guy I didn't see go and sticks his head out the alleyway. His head is like a crete block with 2 slits, and those slits are looking right at me. I stiffen because maybe he's going to disrespect me and ask to see my tongue, but he just jerks his big head to tell me to get moving. In the alley, he rolls aside a dumpster to reveal a hole. I see his black shirt and the crossed hammers over stars and bars on his forearm. That means he's Final Front, so I know I can trust him. We walk down to the library basement where floodlights and empty shelves line the wall. The 4 other guys are down there, plus 2 Final Front guardsmen and some cyberpunk chick fiddling with a gunmetal box on a fold-out table. When they jam our feeds and make us hand over our holos, I know this is some alpha code red shit, and we're in it for real. Outstanding. The guy with the big head kicks aside some books that got burned after everyone realized the feeds were better, then stands in front of us. Everyone straightens up without being told. You can call me Sergeant Bill, but don't you dare call me sir, he says, kind of cool and strict at the same time. Now, you may not know us personally, but we know you. Every one of you has been carefully selected, but if you don't agree, if you have any doubts, then there's the door. No? Then let's begin. You men have been selected to infiltrate the serps and reveal the enemy within. My heart hammers in my ears, then skips a beat when Sergeant Bill says the mission pays double time with a bonus for each serp we expose. Wow, Choi. I mean, I do it for free because I love Apex City. But the double time pay with bonuses is how I know Chancellor Ike must have our back on this mission. He's generous and understands the working man like that. It's like Chancellor Ike's in this basement with us, but we can't say his name. I mean, we can, but no one does out of respect. He's already doing so much while the Weepsters and Serp Deniers attack him from all sides, so we can't say his name without giving him something else to deal with. Now, you might ask yourself, what about training? Sergeant Bill says, there'll be none of that. Training will give you away in this scenario. That makes sense. Serps are trying to be just like us, so they won't know the difference if we be ourselves. Sergeant Bill continues on and takes the words right out of my mouth. I nod and see others doing the same. We all get it, even though none of us knows each other. I bet Chancellor Ike planned it that way through the final front. He's holding a rally all the way on the other side of Apex tonight. That's smart. Plausible deniability to keep us all safe. I watch the Sarge talk and know we're tuned into the same frequency. Choi's a badass. I bet if the basement ceiling caved in, he'd be able to stop it with his head. He's solid as a post, and I bet he's seen some shit. That makes me feel better about how easily he spotted me outside. I imagine already being out in the field and passing him in the street while I'm undercover. We won't so much as look at each other because we're professionals, but we'll both know that we're part of an unspoken brotherhood. There will be no medals for me because I can't talk about what I do. Not even to my wife when I have one. She'll respect that I don't talk. Maybe I'll even meet my future wife on a mission. I glance at the cyberpunk chick still messing with the box on the table. She's actually kind of hot. Then, the basement gets pretty quiet. Sergeant Bill is looking at us like he expects someone to say something. One of the other guys, a redhead with too many freckles, raises his hand. What if the Serps want us to eat someone's cat, sir? What did you call me? Sergeant? Anyone here want to help him out with that question? You eat the damn cat, I say. What did you say? The Sarge gets in my face, but I stare straight ahead and repeat it. Did you hear that? He asks cat question guy. Then Sarge repeats my words like he's in awe. Even better, he gets all of the other guys to repeat it. Yeah, Choi, I was made for this. Then we get serious. Sergeant Bill says we all got to make a temporary sacrifice. I guess we all knew it was coming, but it's still hard to hear it. We're all going to have to get Serp tongues before going out into the stretch. Cat question guy looks at me, maybe hoping I'll speak up and give him an excuse to chicken out. Nope, not gonna happen. We stand there in silence until the moment's gone. Sarge tells us we'll get out normal tongues back once the mission's done. Then he drops some inside knowledge that we didn't know. The Serps don't talk when they're alone among their own kind because they're not advanced enough to have their own language. They only know how to copy. We trust you, but we can't have you slipping up and talking when you make first contact out in the stretch. For that reason, you're going to have to get your vocal cords paralyzed. Sounds worse than it really is, and it's even more temporary than the tongue mods. No reversal needed. Now, if you go see that lovely lady over there, she'll get you sorted. Any volunteers? I double time it over to the cyberpunk chick because I don't want any of the other guys making a first impression before I do. She's wearing blackout contact lenses, so it's like I'm staring into her soul when she looks up at me. Hey, so it's really simple. You put you face in there. She rotates the gunmetal box my way. The top and side facing me are open, and the inside is white foam with a face-shaped hole. Then you stick your tongue in there. She points to a black hole that lines up with the mouth of the white face hole. There's something down there, something with metal legs. Having second thoughts, it only hurts for a second. It's nothing compared to this. She opens her mouth and shows me her tongue stud. I run my eyes over her metal, leather, and tattoos to let her know fear is the farthest thing from my mind right now. I don't know. Will I still be able to do this? I do the old 3-leaf clover tongue trick and let her get a good look while the other guys line up behind me. I stare into her designer eyes. Someone behind me coughs, but I keep staring until she gives a slow smile. Then I put my face in the box. She puts her hand on the back of my head and strokes my hair. We'll probably tell our kids about this moment. She's right. It's quick, more like a millisecond, an intense burst like a laser slicing my head down the middle. But then it's gone, and whatever's in that hole sprays something icy and soothing into my throat. Her hand stops stroking my hair, and I take my head out of the box. Another, heavier hand lands on my shoulder before I can get her hollow. It's Sergeant Bill, and he's guiding me back up the basement stairs while I blink away the white spots in my vision. "Let's check you out here, soldier," he says when we're next to the hole that leads back out into the alleyway. It's dark now, so he pulls out a pen light and a hand mirror to give me a look. "Oi choy." I try to say it, but my new tongue just flaps around. That's when I remember about the frozen vocal cords. Sarge plays it cool and gives me a moment to fight down the panic. I take another look. There's not even a speck of blood, and a serp's tongue isn't like a snake's tongue. It's more like two smaller human tongues that can move in different directions. If I hold it still, I can barely tell the difference. Sarge is right. It'll be easy to reverse. I close my mouth and look at him. "Congratulations. You're first out in the field, but we have a special surprise before your stretch deployment. We couldn't tell you until you reach this stage, but you get to meet him. Tonight. Chancellor Ike." He doesn't have to say the name. As he gives me the details of how I'll get to the rally and what happens after, my eyes start to tear up. I clear my throat, but even that doesn't make a sound. "Hey, you know how to use one of these?" Sergeant Bill asks as I'm about to leave. He hands me something that feels light and solid at the same time. "That's a ghost gun, undetectable and 3D printed to match the color of your skin. You get just the one shot, but you might need it if things go sideways with the serps. Keep it close." "All right, soldier. I'll leave you to it." He shakes my hand before going back to the basement. Even if I could talk, I wouldn't have the words. The risk Chancellor Ike is taking for us goes beyond words. He didn't have to, but he did, and he's letting me meet him with a loaded weapon on my person. That's what makes him great. His ability to completely trust someone in a world filled with lies. I take a steadying breath, then remind myself to breathe only through my nose from here on out to keep my serp tongue hidden. The cruiser is already waiting there in the alley, just like Sergeant Bill said it would be. Nothing fancy, but it hovers smoothly enough over the south side's cracked pavement, then picks up speed on the north side's shiny streets where the Weepster elites live in high-rises and pretend that serps aren't flooding our city with sacromine. The driver doesn't say a word or even look at me. He just hands me my rally ticket and lets me off a few blocks from the Apex arena. I show my VIP ticket, and the metal detector is quiet like me as I zip through security. At first, I'm a little paranoid about someone trying to start a conversation with me, but it's easy to just clap, nod, and smile with my mouth closed after Chancellor Ike comes out and starts talking. My seat's in row 9, close enough to the stage that I can hear his voice boom before the speakers farther back in the stadium amplify it. He looks even bigger in real life. He makes this packed stadium feel small. And it's not like I think he's a god. I know he's not perfect, and he'll be the first to say so. But that's why he's our last chance. He's not afraid to say what's on everyone's mind. Then, right in the middle of Chancellor Ike's story about how he made the Weepsters pay their fair share, someone 2 rows ahead of me stands up from his seat. It seems like the wrong time for a standing ovation. Plus, he's facing the wrong way. He climbs on his seat to put himself even higher over the seated crowd. That's when I see it's Cat Question Guy from the basement. One of his eyes is swollen shut, and the other eye is bugging out of his skull, searching the stadium for something behind me. I turn my head to look back and see others doing the same. Chancellor Ike can't help but notice. Sir, do you need assistance? Do you need someone to teach you how to sit? This guy. Look at this wacko. Are you lost? Seats are for sitting, sir. Cat question guy starts climbing over the other people to get out of his row. People are recording him on their hollows because that's what people do. Idiot. He's going to compromise the mission. We need some assistance over here. The speakers carry Chancellor Ike's voice across the stadium. Cat question guy takes off up the aisle, then runs back toward the stage as security comes down the aisle after him. Oh shit. Does cat question guy also have his own ghost gun? Maybe he's a double agent. Maybe the Serps are smarter than we think. More security is closing in on the stage from both sides, but they'll never get there in time to save Chancellor Ike. I put my hand on the ghost gun in my pocket and get to my feet. But then I see Sergeant Bill at the head of security sprinting down the aisle. Gun! Gun! He's got a gun! Sarge draws his own piece without breaking stride and drops cat question guy with a quick burst to the chest. Everyone around me has dropped to the floor with their hollows hanging overhead to still take in the action. I realize I'm still on my feet. Sergeant Bill glances at me. I look away and start sinking to the floor to keep my cover, but something stops me. He's standing at the end of my row, and those slits in that big block of a head are still trained on me. Now his gun is too. Check the tongue on the one in the aisle, he says, without taking his eyes off me. I think he was signaling this guy. My hand is still frozen on the ghost gun in my pocket, and my words are frozen in a mouth made to betray me. Sarge plants his feet wide and shows me his teeth. Oi Choi, let me see that tongue. Bad reflections. I am not a well person. That isn't easy to admit, even though I understand that it is important to acknowledge that as fact. I am convinced that it all started the night of the storm. After the lightning strike and subsequent power surge from the night before, both washing machines at my apartment complex were on the fritz. It was a minor miracle that we had lost power for only a few minutes. And thank God, my expensive surge suppressors did their job. As a combined freelance writer/web designer, I rely heavily on my computers for my livelihood, and imagining even one of them electrically fried just makes my cringe. The electric shock that knocked me on my ass was the real highlight of the evening, though. Strong summer evening thunderstorms were nothing new for our small Midwestern city, but this one was particularly impressive. Blinding flashes lit the windows and booming thunder rolled and rattled the panes every few minutes. Not wanting to rely on the surge devices exclusively, I decided to quit working and power all my equipment down. Reaching down and unplugging the main computer power feed at the critical moment when the lightning-induced surge came through, I actually saw as well as felt the arc as it jumped from the wall outlet, first following the cord, then my hand as I pulled the plug out. It was quite a jolt, knocked me back a few feet and flat onto my back. I don't think I lost consciousness, but my whole body tingled, and I smelled an ozone smell for hours afterward. Probably should have gone to the doctor just to get checked, but I'm mid-20s and still have some lingering adolescent male invincibility delusions, so I figured I'd survive and blew it off. Lugging dirty laundry down to the basement had never been one of my favorite pastimes, but add carting it a few blocks journey through the neighborhood, and you have a whole new level of annoyance. Nonetheless, there I sat the next day, but already in a state of commingled pain and numbness from just a few minutes in the rock-hard, cracked pink plastic chair, a new John Scalzi sci-fi in hand. So far, the background noises of the machines and other patrons, including not one but two screaming toddlers, had prevented me from successfully reading a single page. A short eternity later, the washer containing my first load, quite spinning, and sounded a brief buzz to alert me that it was done. Even though the laundromat was moderately crowded, I was lucky that there was an open dryer just opposite my washer, so I dutifully drug myself out of the torture device masquerading as a chair and headed across the room. I bundled a large armful of my socks and tighty-whities, turned and dexterously flipped open the dryer lid, only to receive another shock to my hand, this one thankfully much milder than the one from the night before. It still startled me, though, and I yelled as I dropped my armload of clothes. Son of a bitch! A room full of eyes shifted my direction. Sorry, I mumbled to no one in particular, returning to my chores. After finishing, I returned to my poor man's pink throne, determined to blot out all distractions and read. 5 minutes later, I was vegetating, staring aimlessly about the laundromat. That was when I first saw it, a hole where no hole should be, reflected in the convex glass door of the ancient washing machine directly across the room from where I sat. I thought at first it was a smudge or even a ding in the glass, but then I noticed the same anomaly replicated in the machine door on either side of this one. The more I examined it, the reflected dark spot, if that's what it was, seemed to float behind me, down near the floor. But when I turned to look, there was nothing. Over the next few hours, I washed and dried 3 loads, returning to watch the spot in between each. If I looked closely enough, I thought I could see it moving ever so slightly, sort of swirling and undulating. There was a hypnotic effect to it, so much so that the mother of one of the screaming kids had to poke me to let me know my last load was done. Finally finished, I stuffed my clothes into a couple pillowcases that were serving as laundry bags and staggered blurry-eyed from the building. Once outside, my head somewhat cleared, and interest in my recent temporary fixation began to wane. My focus turned instead to contemplate the work that I was now seriously behind on, thanks to the storm and extended laundry duties as I headed for home. Walking up the steps to my building, momentarily fumbling for my keys, I caught sight of my reflection in one of the glass windows that outlined the main doorway, and I froze. The spot, or whatever the damn thing actually was, had somehow followed me. I stared in confusion. It didn't seem possible, yet there it was unmistakably in the reflection, hovering in the same vicinity behind me and just above the ground, like it had appeared before. I spun my head around, and just like before, there was nothing to be seen behind me. Against my better judgment, I spun my attention back to examine the reflection in the window. The spot was indeed there, but it had changed. While I had been walking home, it had grown larger and had begun to emit flashes of light from its swirling center. Just a speck appearing here and there, briefly shining through before the undulating mass rolled and blotted it out again. And along with the reflection, there was now an accompanying sound, a faint tinkling, like a set of wind chimes coming from the direction of the spot. Unlike chimes, though, that came and went randomly with the wind, these played a melodic tune. Their cadence captured my attention, the rhythm lulling me into a trance. I listened, and I stared. For how long, I couldn't say. With some effort, I pulled my gaze away from the window and the spot, focusing down on my now clenched hands. The chimes cut off cleanly as the spot slipped from my peripheral vision. Fear replaced my confusion. I quickly unlocked the door and hurried inside, my heart pounding out a trip hammer beat. I needed to get to my apartment, but avoid anything reflective along the way. The elevator was out of the question, so I kept my head down and headed for the stairs. The stairway provided temporary safety, with its dingy, concrete steps and unadorned walls. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. As I climbed, I began to inventory the hazards that still awaited me. Once inside my own door, there lurked a multitude of windows, pictures, and mirrors, both big and small. TVs, appliances, and even my computers, and all had to be avoided. I reached my door without incident and took a few moments to calm my nerves. As I waited, I couldn't help questioning the reality of what I thought had just happened. Was I really cowering outside my own door, in the hallway I had traversed countless times, afraid of seeing some malevolent object in anything reflective? I tried to tell myself that this was foolishness, akin to a kid afraid of the dark for no apparent reason other than it wasn't light. Or was there a better explanation? The shock during the storm. That had to be the cause, I reasoned. Maybe some brain damage, not much, but enough to make me see spots and floating objects that weren't really there, and hear things that weren't there either. Why not? I had not quite, but almost convinced myself that this could all be rationally explained. I still wasn't ready to raise my line of sight above floor level, but I entered the apartment much calmer than I had been only moments before. I thought about the little kid me again, afraid of the dark, and remembered walking through the house turning on all the lights, telling myself that even though I wasn't really afraid, the lights were just a harmless precaution. With that as my mindset, I retrieved a handful of towels and blankets and proceeded through my apartment, covertly covering anything reflective as I went. Collapsing at my desk, having covered my monitors with a sheet, I started theorizing how I could live like this until I could get to a doctor for help. I rationalized, even if the spot wasn't real, I still had to deal with its effects until I could be assured that it was gone. As I was ticking off tasks needed to stay functional, disable monitor screensavers, figure out how to go out in public, maybe wear a hoodie with the strings pulled tight to minimize my field of view, my phone rang. I reflexively reached for it out of habit and had just enough time to register that it was my mom calling before I saw it again, reflected in the dark glass of my cell phone. It floated higher now, and it was still growing, perhaps balloon-sized now. I could see variation in colors, shades of gray to black, swirling and heaving in rippling folds. The flashes of light had increased their brightness, still appearing briefly in the dark mass before being reconsumed. The chimes returned as well, grabbing my attention so completely that answering my mother's call was beyond my capabilities. I watched and listened, unsure whether sight or sound was the more compelling sensation. As my phone ringing stopped, I heard another sound, low and hidden underneath the chimes. There was nothing melodic about this new sound, and it struck a fresh fear into my mind. It resonated wet and heavy, like some ancient Lovecraftian god of old dragging itself from dark, mysterious depths. As I listened, the chimes clashed with the new noise in a strange auditory battle for supremacy. As I watched, the spot slowly grew. I could see it changing in the reflection, but knew it was occurring behind me, and at the same time, knew that there would be nothing there to see if I had been able to turn and look. Rigid with fear, I couldn't look away, helpless to alter my situation. As I sat incapacitated, a fresh horror arose. Like soft tendrils at first, I sensed what felt like a pair of many-fingered hands creep over my shoulders and down my chest. Their caress was almost sensual as they moved down to me waist, where the sensation changed to a grip. There was no real strength in the ghostly hands, but the feeling was inexplicably drawing me backward, back to where the spot awaited. Sensual became coaxing, coaxing turned to seductive, then finally approached insistence. Unable to resist, I tried rolling myself backward as I sat in the desk chair. The chair casters did not turn smoothly against the carpet, or I might have succeeded in my retreat to God. Only knows what fate the spot had planned for me. As I flexed my legs to overcome the drag of the carpet, my loving yet meddlesome mother came to my rescue. I hadn't answered her previous call, and she hadn't left a message. Her routine in such situations was to wait 10 minutes and call again, using the time to compose an appropriately thoughtful, yet guilt-inducing message to leave. The phone chirped loudly in my hand, enough to startle me and cause me to drop it. Luck being on my side for once in my life, it landed screen down. I pulled a slew of papers, coasters, and even a dirty plate off my desk, whatever was within reach, to cover it. The onslaught had ceased in a flash. I spent the rest of that night living like a blind man. I tied a shirt around my head for a blindfold and wore it constantly, not trusting myself to just keep my eyes closed. Somehow, with face recognition and Siri's help, I managed to call and check the hours for the urgent care facility a few blocks away, my plan being to arrive as the doors opened in the morning. After inexplicably getting a few hours sleep, mostly from exhaustion, and having neither eaten nor showered since the previous morning, I found myself contemplating just how best to navigate walking the 6 blocks to the doctor. I couldn't very well walk down the street blindfolded, so I had employed my hoodie idea. With the opening pulled down to just an unnerving few square inches, I ventured out. Other than sideswiping a garbage can and nearly colliding with a couple of emerging coffee shop patrons, my tunnel vision trek was proceeding without any serious issues until I needed to cross the main road. So far, I had only encountered side street intersections with little to no traffic at this hour, but the medical facility was on the opposite side of the 4-lane. As I waited at the light, head down and listening for the chirping noise that told me it was safe to cross, I reassuringly told myself that I was going to make it, that the doctor would scan my head, prescribe a pill, or send me to some specialist who would know exactly how to cure what ailed me. Having made it this far unscathed, I was feeling just a sliver of optimism as the chirp came and I stepped into the street. I may have been distracted, or it may have made no difference. I heard a motor racing, just a bit, to my right. Nothing particularly menacing, but enough to draw my attention. Just like answering the phone, I instinctively looked up ever so slightly to assure myself that I wasn't about to be run over, and there it was. A spotlessly clean storefront window, advertising the coming fall fashions. Spotless, that is, except for the spot I had been avoiding. The result was instantaneous. The ethereal chimes and fearsome dragging sounds, the forceful groping fingers upon my chest, urging me backward, and the sight of the ever-growing, surging spot itself, all manifested collectively. Reflected in the glass, the spot now loomed, grown larger than me. Its depths beckoned, its darkness seductive. I stopped, then reversed direction in the crosswalk, shuffling backward toward the maw of the thing that had been pursuing me. I was a part of the reflection this time, and I watched as my fate unfolded behind me. The flashing lights became blue-white arcs, dancing wildly just behind me, reaching out to welcome me or strike me dead, I knew not which, when a delivery truck pulled to the stoplight and blocked the window from my view. Released, I collapsed. Horns blared, onlookers undoubtedly gawked, and a young girl actually stepped up and asked me if I needed help. I ignored them all, abandoning my optimistic hopes for a medical miracle cure. I staggered to my feet, pulled my hoodie strings tighter, and ran. I desperately wanted to run away, But how can you run away from a reflection? From an entity that follows you always? So I ran toward something, or rather somewhere. I ran blindly to the laundromat. It made no logical sense, but logic had been left far behind sometime yesterday. As I had laid awake last night, my mind had reeled through scenarios, causes, and plans for what had been happening. The doctor had remained as plan A. My plan B made no sense whatsoever, but it flowed forward like a lifeline as I ran. Miraculously, I arrived at the laundromat without being run over or seeing another reflection. The laundromat hadn't opened yet, but that wasn't going to deter me. I pried the painted metal top off a public trash can, and with my eyes closed, beat it against the front window until it shattered. I carefully crawled through and headed for the door in the rear of the building, marked employees only. It was thankfully unlocked. Once inside, it took little time to find something that would serve my purposes. A large screwdriver in an old toolbox. Back in the laundromat was an array of electrical panels mounted on the back wall, variously marked high voltage, danger 220/208 volts, or just electrical hazard. I had noticed these while gazing idly about the room the day before. Without hesitating to think, I pried the door open on the largest of the panels, held the screwdriver by the metal blade to assure good contact, and jammed it across the incoming leads. And woke up here in the hospital in the psychiatric ward about 2 weeks ago. Guess you know the rest, Doc. I refused to open my eyes until anything reflective was removed from the room, the curtains drawn. Not sure what else I demanded, but I got sedated for it. I do remember. Under the care of your colleagues, though, I'm calmer and less prone to delusions. In just this short time, I've progressed to where I can actually look at myself in a mirror. I don't like to, but I can do it. Well, you do seem to have made incredible progress, Mr. Buchanan. Please, just Jerry. Okay, Jerry. And I did want to apologize again for you getting shuffled about here a bit. We seem to have quite the rash of absenteeism lately. I hope there isn't anything contagious being passed around. Oh, I'm sure you'll get to the bottom of it, Doc, I said, rising and extending my hand. I wanted to thank you and your team again for all you've done. As he reached out to shake my hand, he flinched his own. Oh, got a little shock from you, Jerry. Yeah, that happens. Probably just static. A growing hunger. I don't remember how I died, but I remember the gnawing cold. A cold deeper than my bones that cut right into my soul. I was no longer myself when I awoke. I was only a husk of a man, something else entirely. The fire roared in the hearth. It was casting shadows on the wall that danced with a chaotic rhythm. No matter how intense the flame grew, I couldn't shake off the intensity that took over my body. My blood turned to ice, but my hunger grew like that flame, and just like the fire, it was all-consuming. I had tried to hunt, but that was not what my body craved. Only one thing could appease this insatiable hunger. I sharpened my knife, the steel grazing over the fine points over and over. The sound grated into my ear. I needed to eat, and I needed to eat soon. I wasn't sure how long I was going to last. I pulled myself from the fire, clutching my knife and my lifeline, and put on my coat and boots. The cracked mirror by the door only showed an empty shell, sunken black eyes, white pale skin, and bloodless lips. I pushed the cabin door open and sank into the blanket of snow that lined the forest. The world had withered in my isolation. The never-ending storm raged relentlessly outside. The eerie silence was only disrupted by the crunch of my boots. The trees had frozen in place, their bony branches reaching up to the gray abyss above. It would be a miracle if my traps had caught anything today. They hadn't for the last 3 days, and I could tell I was running out of time before I left this cabin and sought something more. My lips salivated at the thought of flesh, warm and soft, sinking into my teeth. I shook away the thought and rushed towards the first trap. Nothing. The second. Nothing. The third. Nothing. Then, a voice rattled in the distance. No, not in the distance, near my cabin. It was quiet at first, but then the sound echoed through the skeleton trees. "Hello, anyone? I need help." My heart pounded. If I go back, would that be it? I hesitated. I could resist. It was my mortality that I clung to with the kind of hope a small child clings to his dreams. I turned back to the traps to check the final one. The man called for help again, banging on the closed cabin door. That forbidden thought arose. I tried to pull myself away, but I could only imagine myself sinking my teeth into his soft flesh, warming my body with his sweet blood. I was starving, more than starving, empty. I looked towards the other traps, knowing it would be pointless to waste any more energy. Against my better judgment, I hurried towards the voice because leaving the man to freeze outside in this world would be no different than murder. I emerged from the tree line to see an outline of a man. The white from the snow blurred his figure, but he was alone and at my door. "Hello," he called again, as he walked over to the lone window on the side of the cabin. That wave of hope raced over me again. The longing for mortality whispered in my ear. The hunger subsided just for a bit as I found my voice. I had been silent for so long that it came out in a raspy mumble. "Hello." I raised my hand over my head to wave. A rusty and out-of-sync gesture. "Are you okay?" "Oh, thank God. Hello." He pressed his hands together. Was he happy? Scared? How long had I been out of practice in the art of socializing? I was out hunting and must have turned around. I have been out in the cold for some time. Do you have a phone I could use? My rusty muscles awkwardly formed a smile. The phone is out, but I can offer you a bed for the night. I approached him slowly, like prey, slower than I had approached my traps. Where are your hunting buddies? Should I expect them as well? Our party got split up. I am hoping they get out of here before the storm worsens. I pushed past the man, his scent forcing my stomach into a spiral. It would be so easy. I could do it here. One stab into his throat, one moment of indulgence, one mistake. "Are you okay, sir?" The man's eyes met mine. His eyes were so tame, I felt so wild. I forced my hand on the door and opened it. The man slowly walked through the door and saw the fire. His face relaxed. "My name is Ben, by the way." "Nice to meet you." I pulled off my coat, throwing it over the back of the chair, then flung my boots off, not caring where they landed. "I would offer you food, but I don't have much myself." "Oh, that's okay. I am just grateful for your hospitality. I have a couple more rations as well if you need them." He followed my lead and took off his coat and boots, placing them on the hook beside the door. "And you are?" Who was I? I tried to search the depths of my mind. I reminded myself of my death, who I was in my old life. A chill worked up my spine. I would have to go with a lie. Silas. The name came out of my mouth in hesitation. "You can take the bed upstairs. I can sleep on the couch." "Thank you so much." He approached the fire and pushed his hand towards the flames. His sweet flesh singed the cabin. I gripped my knife and took 2 steps back. I had to resist. I could send him on his way after the storm passed. "This little place you got here is cozy. How long have you been here for?" Another question I had no answer to. It could have been weeks or years, another lie I had to conjure up. I tried not to make eye contact, just needed to get him upstairs and out of the house. I needed to fight this urge and pray for a decent meal in the traps tomorrow. A couple years, actually. He leaned closer to the fire. His smell encompassed the cabin even more. My daughter and wife would love it up here. I winced. Did I have a family? A daughter? Son? It was a blur, and I was starting not to care. I pushed my finger into the edge of the blade, trying to think of anything else. If you don't mind, I think I will be turning in for the night. Again, upstairs there is a bed. I gestured to the small stairs next to the kitchen. He nodded and disappeared upstairs. In the dead of night, I awoke to Ben snoring softly. The hunger surging. It had grown into its monster. I thought of the empty traps outside that would not fill anytime soon, and the continuous snow that piled higher as time passed. I was going to starve out here. Ben was going to starve out here. I wasn't sure where I was, or where the nearest town was, and I dared go close to such a civilization in fear of what would happen. I grabbed the knife out of my pocket and snuck upstairs. My breath fogged the cold air as I tried to tame my breathing. I was being too loud, chaotic, too wild. I could feel my body giving in, my beast within whispering louder. The voice promised relief, warmth, and satisfaction. I leaned over his body and pulled out my sharpened knife. The blade was ready for its kill after waiting for what seemed like centuries. It would be a mercy. Maybe the traps outside were empty, but this one had been set and tripped. By morning, the storm had passed. I stood in front of the deep hole that I frantically dug in the earth, blood staining the white frozen wasteland. My beast, the hunger, sated for now, but I feel no peace. The brief satisfaction that my prey gave me was fading quickly. I knew that he would demand more soon. I tossed the bones and other remains into the pit and fill it in, hiding all traces of my actions. For I am no longer human. I had died a long time ago, before Ben, before the season changed, before my memories were lost with time. I would no longer know the warmth of the world, unless that warmth was from the flesh of another body. My memories are forever gone in the abyss of time, and whatever or whoever I was before is now swallowed by the beast. I walked back to the cabin in defeat, the hunger stirring again, stronger this time. I catch the scent of something in the wind. It is sweet and delicate. I turn towards the tree line. A group of hikers, their voices carried through the trees. There would be no more resistance. I headed towards the voices, knife in hand, knowing that this time my hunger would be sated, the request. Hear me, O Master, as we submit to your will for our meager and groveling desires. We beg and ask you to feel our souls as they bend and call to you, O Master, for your mercy and favor upon us now. We beg you to hear the thoughts of us all. Kevin, Robert, Dave with the beard, Dave without the beard, Steve and Stephen, Roger, and, yes, my little brother, Brian. We have brought ourselves to this place on this very cold and difficult day to ask you for your assistance, O Master. And please respond pretty quickly, because my brother is driving me crazy and the others don't have the nerve to actually ask for help. We seek your assistance to meet girls. Yes, my master, we submit to you and hope to seek your favor to have the females of our neighborhood submit to our will. Don't tell anyone that the first one to have any success with girls has been my little brother, because that would work against us and our desires. Besides, it was only one time when he got a kiss from someone in his class on a dare. She really did not like him, but he keeps talking about it. Don't tell anyone. Yes, I have been asked by Kevin and Dave with the beard to say that they do have girlfriends, but they are unhappy females who will not go to first base with them until they are actually serious about what the relationship is all about. No information has been shared to explain what that may actually mean. I suggested a ring, but Dave without a beard and Steve and Steven think that this might be going too far for... Oh, Master, I have been told not to use their names. Brian wants me to put it into my supplication, and that this is not relevant if we do have your favor in these matters. From our deep study of the material, we know that you do show your touch upon those who are willing and aware to sacrifice what we love to gain your respect. I still think it would make more sense to use our full names, but some people are too frightened of your power to be that willing. So, we will instead make our offerings to you. We have brought you the following as our sacrifice to you. My watch, given to me as a gift for my 16th birthday, and linked with the promise that this was one that my grandfather wore for many years and wanted me to have. I never wear it, but it is a potent sacrifice. Dave with the beard has offered you all of his comic books. He has been collecting them with Dave without a beard since he was merely a child. They are both willing to give it up now, and it has nothing to do with the information they have provided this evening about their move to a new place and their lack of space. They are also not related, although it seems sometimes that they could be brothers, despite the difference between hair color and attitudes toward life. I will continue. Kevin has a very nice guitar that he no longer plays, a Rickenbacker with 12 strings. I have offered to buy it from him at a reasonable rate. A discount should be considered, but he has chosen to carry it all this way and provide for you, O Master. Please accept his misguided offer. Seriously, I can play, and if he would just give me a chance, I could prove it. Steve and Steven have. I must admit that they are family, not brothers, O Master, but cousins far removed from different parts of the family and living in the same neighborhood. Yes, it has caused some confusion among us, but also some amusement. Their offering, O Master, is to have a change of name. They have not yet decided which of them should make the sacrifice and have a new appellation, but they are making the inquiries needed to find out how it shall be done. I do not think this is the greatest sacrifice possible, but their minds are made up, I think. Robert has remained silent, O Master, and we are beginning to wonder if he is really into this. His appearance betrays an interest in sports more than obedience to you and your powerful essence. We have asked what he would like to contribute to achieve our wishes, all of our wishes, and he has made a sneer and tossed in a baseball into the ring. It is cold, so we know that this was a special ball that came at the end of the season, but I still feel that this is a grave insult. His response of "take it or leave it" is no reflection upon your majestic power, but please accept that this is coming solely from his arrogant soul and should be treated accordingly. Roger has brought his savings bonds. We told him that his sacrifice should not be so obvious, but he is adamant that they will mature soon, and that even those in your particular plane, O Master, should appreciate the money. So his offering is made, although I think that he may have other investments that are much more liquid that he is not willing to share with us. He just needs to trust us once. Finally, my little brother wants to sacrifice me. I feel that this would be quite pointless and silly. I also feel that I should inform our mother of this nonsense, but he has already threatened to expose our group to our parents, and I fear that I must allow him to do this. I would be honored to sacrifice myself, but I would like to be clear that this is done simply out of spite by him. The choice is yours. And seriously, oh master, don't listen to my little brother. He won't really appreciate all that can be offered to a lost soul. He's spoiled enough as it is. Here endeth our request.